The delegates argued in 17 different languages while their translators struggled to keep pace. Station Harmony lived up to its name only in theory. Right now, the circular chamber buzzed with discord as representatives from 40 species debated the future of humanity. David, Reed sat in the human section, trying to look diplomatic while his daughter colored pictures on a datapad beside him. Lily had turned 6 last month, and bringing her to this meeting had seemed like a terrible idea from the start. His wife had insisted, though. "Show them we're normal," she had said. "Show them we have families and children just like everyone else." Normal, that word meant something different when your species came from a Class 12. Deathworld. A Methodian chancellor named. Bryn stood at the center podium, his 3 eyes blinking in sequence as he read from a holographic display. The data painted Earth as a nightmare. Earthquakes that could level cities. Hurricanes with wind speeds that exceeded most species' spacecraft velocities. Oceans filled with creatures that could swallow small vessels whole. Microorganisms that killed in days. Temperature ranges that swung from freezing to boiling across different regions. They evolved in conditions that would exterminate 98% of known sentient species, Bryn said, his voice calm but firm. Every biological system on their planet competed in an arms race of lethality, poison, venom, fangs, claws. Even their plants developed defensive mechanisms that cause severe pain. A delegate from the Rillian Collective chittered nervously. "And they want to join our community?" "They are predators." "We're not predators," David said, standing up. "We're survivors." "The distinction seems minimal," another voice called out. Lily tugged on her father's sleeve. "Daddy, I'm bored. Can I go look around?" David glanced down at his daughter. Her brown hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she wore the little blue dress that made her look even younger than she was. "Honey, we talked about this. You need to stay here." "But there's nothing to do." "I already finished all my drawings. Just a little longer, okay?" "This is important." The debate continued around them. Some species argued for humanity's admission. Others worried about security risks. A few pointed out that humans had only achieved faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. They were infants on the galactic stage, and infants from Deathworlds were particularly dangerous. Bryn raised one hand for silence. "There is one more matter we must address before voting. As you all know, we maintain a containment facility on this station. Subject 17 remains in maximum security." The chamber went quiet. Even the translator devices seemed to pause. "Subject 17? David whispered to his aide. The aide, a young woman named Patricia, leaned close. "It's a void drake. They captured it about 300 years ago. Apparently it's killed multiple guards recently. They're planning to execute it. Why bring that up now?" Patricia looked uncomfortable. "I think they want to use it as a test. See how humans react to something universally feared." David felt a chill run down his spine. Void drakes were legendary. Living weapons that could tear through starship armor. Creatures that breathed antimatter and survived in the vacuum of space. Every species feared them. Wars had been fought to exterminate them. Bryn continued speaking. "We propose a simple observation. We will allow the human delegation to view Subject 17. Their reaction will help us determine their compatibility with galactic civilization. It was a trap. Show fear, prove they were like everyone else. Show aggression, prove they were dangerous." David opened his mouth to object, but Lily had already slipped away from her seat. He turned, scanning the chamber. His daughter had vanished into the crowd of delegates. Panic seized his chest. "Lily? Lily?" Patricia jumped up. "I'll find her. She probably just went to the bathroom." But David saw something else. His datapad, the one Lily had been using, lay on the seat. The screen showed a map of the station. A route had been traced through the corridors leading down to the lower levels. A child's finger had drawn a line right to the containment area. "Oh no," David breathed. He pushed through the crowd, ignoring the protests of other delegates. Bryn called after him, but David was already running. Patricia followed. Along with two station security officers who had noticed the commotion, they raced through the corridors, following the same path Lily would have taken. The route went down 3 levels, through sections that should have been locked. But the security systems on Station Harmony were designed to stop armies, not curious children. A 6-year-old girl barely registered on their sensors. David's heart pounded as they descended. The air grew colder. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. They were deep in the station now, in areas meant only for maintenance and containment. A roar echoed through the metal corridors. It sounded like a star dying. The walls vibrated. Dust fell from the ceiling panels. The security officers drew their weapons. Their hands shaking, they rounded the final corner and stopped, through a transparent barrier reinforced with quantum fields. David saw it. The Void Drake was massive, easily the size of a small shuttle. Its scales absorbed light, making it look like a hole torn in reality. Eyes like collapsing suns stared forward with intelligence and fury. The creature's wings were folded against its body, but even contained. It radiated power, and standing before the barrier, pressing both small hands against the energy field, was Lily. She looked up at the dragon and smiled. "Hi," his daughter said. "Why are you so sad?" The Void Drake stopped roaring. For the first time in 300 years, it fell completely silent. 3 minutes earlier, Lily had been sitting in the boring meeting, listening to adults argue about things she didn't understand. Her father kept talking about survival and adaptation, using big words that made her head hurt. She wanted to explore. Station Harmony was huge, and she had only seen the docking area and the council chamber. The datapad in her lap showed a map. She had been playing with it while pretending to color, and found something interesting in the lower levels. A big red dot with warning symbols around it. Her tablet at home used red dots to mark treasure in her adventure games. This had to be something cool. She waited until everyone was arguing loudly, then slipped out of her seat. Nobody noticed. Adults never noticed when they were busy talking. The corridors were empty. Her shoes made soft sounds on the metal floor as she walked. Signs on the walls used symbols she couldn't read, but the map showed her where to go. Down, always down. The elevator recognized her as part of the human delegation and let her in. She pressed the button for level 9, humming a song her mother taught her. The elevator played soft music that sounded like water running over stones. When the doors opened, everything looked different. The lights here were dim and red. The air smelled like electricity and something else, something that made her nose wrinkle. She followed the map through empty corridors. Pipes ran along the ceiling, dripping condensation. Her breath made little clouds in the cold air. She should have been scared. Her parents always told her not to wander off. But Lily had a feeling, the same feeling she got before finding something special. Her grandmother called it intuition. Her father called it dangerous curiosity. The corridor ended at a heavy door with a window. Through the window, she saw a large room filled with glowing barriers and machines. And in the center, inside a cage made of light, was the most beautiful creature she had ever seen. It looked like the dragons in her storybooks, but different, bigger, more real. Its scales were black, but not regular black. They seemed to drink in the light, making the dragon look like a shadow with shape. Its eyes glowed purple and red, swirling like storms. Wings folded against its body were covered in patterns that hurt to look at too long. The door opened when she pushed it. Security systems blinked and registered her as a non-threat. A child, harmless. Lily walked into the containment room. The machines hummed around her. The barrier crackled with energy. Up close, the dragon was even bigger than she thought. Its head alone was larger than her whole body. The dragon noticed her. Its eyes focused, and Lily felt something touch her mind. Not words exactly, but feelings, anger, pain, loneliness that stretched for years and years and years. The dragon's mouth opened. Teeth like swords gleamed in the red light. A sound came out that made the whole room shake. The roar was so loud that Lily's ears hurt. The floor vibrated under her feet, but she didn't run. She had seen angry dogs before. A neighbor's dog had barked at her once, all teeth and noise. Her father taught her what to do. Stay calm, don't threaten. Show you're not dangerous and look past the anger to what's underneath. This dragon wasn't angry. Not really. It was scared and hurt and alone. Lily stepped closer to the barrier. The energy field buzzed against her skin, making her arm hair stand up. She pressed both hands against it and looked up at the dragon. "Hi," she said. "Why are you so sad?" The roaring stopped. The dragon stared at her with those swirling eyes. Lily felt its mind touch hers again, but gentler this time. Curious images flooded her thoughts. A planet covered in crystals and fire. Dragons flying through skies filled with colored lightning. Then war. Ships filling the sky, explosions, screaming, dragons falling from the air. Their beautiful scales burned and broken. Lily saw this dragon, younger and smaller, hiding in caves. Watched by enemies, captured, brought to this station. Put in this cage, studied, hurt, alone for so long that the years blurred together. Tears ran down Lily's cheeks. "They hurt you," she whispered. "For a long, long time." The dragon lowered its massive head toward her. Its eyes were level with hers now, just on the other side of the barrier. This close, she could see her reflection in those eyes. A tiny human child facing a creature that could destroy ships. Lily wanted to show the dragon something nice. She thought about home. About Earth. The dragon's mind was still touching hers, so she shared her memories, rainstorms that pounded on the roof of her house, thunder that rattled windows, her mother holding her, telling her the storm would pass, mountains covered in snow, camping trips where her father taught her to build fires, the ocean with waves taller than buildings, playing in tide pools, finding crabs and small fish. Her world was dangerous too, but her family was there. People who loved her, who kept her safe even when things were scary. The dragon made a sound, softer this time, almost like a cat purring, but deeper. It pressed its head against the barrier from the other side, right where Lily's hands were. "You're lonely," Lily said. "I get lonely too sometimes. It's okay to be sad." The dragon's eyes swirled slower now, purple and red mixing into something softer. Lily felt understanding flow between them. This dragon knew what it meant to survive in a harsh world. So did humans. They were the same in ways the other aliens could never understand. Footsteps echoed in the corridor. Voices shouting. Her father was coming. Lily looked up at the dragon. "I have to go, but I'll come back. I promise. Friends don't leave friends alone." The dragon's purr grew louder, and for the first time in 300 years, something like hope flickered in its ancient eyes. David burst through the door with security behind him. His heart nearly stopped when he saw Lily standing at the barrier, her hands pressed against the energy field. Staring up at the void drake, the creature's massive head was lowered to her level, closer than anything living should want to be to such a predator. "Lily, step back slowly," David said, keeping his voice steady despite the fear clawing at his throat. His daughter turned and smiled. "Daddy, look! I made a new friend." Friend. The word hung in the air like something physical. The security officers had their weapons raised, fingers hovering over triggers. Patricia stood frozen in the doorway, her face pale. Nobody moved. The dragon shifted. Its head turned toward the adults, and David saw intelligence in those swirling eyes. Ancient intelligence. This was no mindless beast. This creature understood exactly what was happening. "Lily, come here right now," David said. "But I'm talking to them," Lily protested. She looked back at the dragon. "Their name is Ashkara," they told me. "Well, not with words. It's more like feelings and pictures. They're scared of you." "It's scared?" One of the security officers muttered. "That thing killed 17 guards last month." Ashkara's eyes fixed on the officer. A low rumble echoed through the chamber. The officer stepped back, weapon shaking. Lily frowned. "They only hurt people because people hurt them first. Wouldn't you fight back if someone kept sticking needles in you and cutting pieces off to study?" David felt sick. He looked at the dragon again, really looked. Now that his initial panic was fading, he could see details. Scars under those dark scales. Places where the scales didn't quite line up, like they had been removed and grown back wrong. Burns along the wing membranes. This creature had been tortured. "Sweetheart, we need to go," David said gently. "This isn't safe." But Ashkara is lonely. They've been alone for 300 years. Can you imagine that, Daddy? 300 years with nobody to talk to. Nobody who understands. The dragon made that purring sound again. Its eyes never left Lily. Patricia's communicator beeped. She answered, listened, then looked at David with wide eyes. "Sir, the entire council is watching. The security feeds are broadcasting to the chamber. Everyone can see this." David's stomach dropped. This had gone from a personal crisis to a galactic incident in seconds. Whatever happened next would determine humanity's future in the stars. Bryn's voice crackled through the room's communication system. "Ambassador Reed, please escort your daughter away from the containment field. We will discuss this situation with the full council." David approached slowly. "Lily, we have to go now. This is important." Lily looked up at Ashkara. The dragon and the child stared at each other for a long moment. David felt something pass between them, some understanding he couldn't quite grasp. Then Lily stepped back from the barrier. The dragon roared. Not the death scream from before, but something different. Mournful, desperate. It pressed against the energy field hard enough to make the lights flicker. Alarms began to sound. The security officers raised their weapons higher. "No!" Lily shouted. "Don't hurt them!" She ran back to the barrier, pressing her hands against it again. The dragon calmed immediately, lowering its head to her level once more. "Lily," David said, his voice breaking. He was watching his daughter's heart connect with the most dangerous creature in known space, and he didn't know how to protect her from what came next. "Daddy!" "They're not bad," Lily said, tears streaming down her face. "They're just hurt and scared and alone. Like when I had nightmares after we moved to the new house, remember? I was mean to you because I was scared, but I didn't really want to be mean. Ashkara is the same." David knelt beside his daughter. Through the barrier he met the dragon's eyes. What he saw there shocked him. Pain, yes. Anger, certainly. But also something else. Something that looked almost like hope. "She's right," David said quietly. The security officers looked at him like he had lost his mind. Maybe he had. "Look at it." "Really look? That's not a monster. That's a prisoner who's been driven to the edge." Patricia stepped forward. "Sir, the council is demanding we return immediately. Tell them we're not done here." David said. He sat down on the floor next to Lily. The cold metal bit through his formal clothes, but he didn't care. His daughter leaned against him, one hand still on the barrier. "Tell me about your home," David said to the dragon. He felt foolish talking to it, but Lily had somehow made contact. Maybe he could too. Ashkara's eyes swirled. David felt something brush against his thoughts. It was like standing in a storm. Memories crashed over him. A world of crystal spires and flame waterfalls. Dragons soaring through clouds that sparked with energy. Music that wasn't sound but vibration through the air. Beauty beyond anything he had imagined, then the war. Ships blocking out the sky. The dragons fighting back, but there were so many ships. So many weapons. The crystals shattering. The spires falling. Dragons screaming as they died. Ashkara hiding, wounded, alone. Then capture, chains, cages, the endless cycle of pain and study and isolation. David pulled back from the mental contact, gasping. Lily squeezed his hand. "Now do you understand?" She asked. He did. God help him, he did. This creature had survived horrors that would have broken most beings. And when humans came from their death world talking about survival, Ashkara had recognized something familiar. Kindred spirits forged in crucibles of suffering. David stood up. He looked directly at the security camera he knew was broadcasting to the council. "My daughter just taught me something," he said. "She taught me that the measure of a civilization isn't how it treats the powerful or the beautiful or the useful. It's how we treat those we've decided to fear. He took Lily's other hand, so they both stood at the barrier together. Humanity requests that this creature be given a chance at freedom, David said. And if the Council refuses, then humanity respectfully declines membership. We won't join a galaxy that treats suffering as acceptable. Ashkara raised its head and roared, but this time it sounded like triumph. The council chamber exploded into chaos. 40 species shouted at once, their translators struggling to keep up with the avalanche of opinions. On the massive display screen, the feed from the containment room showed David and Lily standing before Ashkara, hands pressed against the barrier. Bryn pounded his gavel, but the noise didn't stop. A Quillen representative was on her feet, her scales flushed red with anger. This is blackmail. The humans used their child as a prop and now make demands? They're protecting her, another voice countered. A Havarian named Goro, whose species understood parental bonds. The father chose his daughter's values over political gain. That speaks well of them. It speaks of emotional decision-making, the Quillen shot back. Exactly what we feared from deathworlders. On the screen, Lily was talking to the dragon again. Her small voice came through the speakers. Don't be scared, Ashkara. My daddy's really smart. He'll figure something out. The dragon's response was a low rumble that made the audio system crackle. Bryn finally managed to restore order. His 3 eyes blinked in different patterns, a sign of deep stress among Methodians. This situation is unprecedented. Ambassador Reed has issued an ultimatum. We must address it. Address it? A Tauranian delegate stood, her crystalline body refracting the chamber's light. He demands we release a creature that has killed our people. His child touches it like a pet. This proves humans are dangerously naive. Or dangerously compassionate, Goro said. Perhaps that's the same thing. Patricia's voice came through on a private channel to the council. Sirs, we have a problem. The containment field is destabilizing. When Ashkara pressed against it, microfractures formed in the quantum barrier. If it breaks, the dragon will be free. Bryn's skin turned pale blue. How long until failure? Impossible to predict. Could be hours. Could be minutes. The chamber fell silent. Every representative understood what that meant. If Ashkara escaped, it could tear through the station in minutes. Thousands would die. And the human child was standing right next to it. We should evacuate, someone said. We can't evacuate in time, Bryn replied. And any attempt to move the humans forcibly might trigger the dragon's aggression. On the screen, Lily was singing now. A children's song about stars and moonlight. Ashkara had closed its eyes, head still pressed against the barrier. The dragon looked almost peaceful. A new voice spoke up. Old and crackling. Perhaps we should ask ourselves why the creature is calm. Every head turned. The speaker was Grandmother Shen, the eldest of the Vex Collective. She had lived for over 2,000 years and rarely attended council meetings anymore. Her presence now carried weight. Explain, Grandmother, Bryn said respectfully. The dragon has been violent for 3 centuries. Killed guards, destroyed equipment, fought every sedation attempt. But now, with the child, it is still why. The child is non-threatening, the Quillen representative said. No, Grandmother Shen shook her head. The child is human. From Earth, a Class 12 death world, the dragon recognizes something in her. Goro leaned forward. What could a dragon recognize in a human child? Survival, Grandmother Shen said simply. Both species come from crucibles. Both learn to endure impossible conditions. But humans learned something else as well. They learned that enduring alone is merely existing. Enduring together is living. The display screen now showed David sitting cross-legged on the floor, Lily in his lap. Both had their hands on the barrier. Ashkara had moved closer, its massive body curled around the field's edge, as if trying to get as near to them as possible. The dragon is not calm because the child is non-threatening, Grandmother Shen continued. It is calm because, for the first time in 300 years, it feels understood. Bryn studied the screen. What are you suggesting, Grandmother? I'm suggesting we consider that our fear has made us cruel. We captured this creature, studied it, heard it, and called it science. We imprisoned it, and when it fought back, we called it monstrous. But what if we made it monstrous? The Quillen representative hissed. You would blame us for defending ourselves? I would blame us for forgetting mercy, Grandmother Shen said. The humans have not forgotten. Perhaps that is what deathworlds teach, that suffering is universal and compassion is the only answer to it. Patricia's voice came through again, urgent now. The barrier is failing faster. We need a decision. Bryn's 3 eyes closed, then opened. When he spoke, his voice was heavy. There is only one option that does not end in catastrophe. We must lower the barrier. The chamber erupted again. Voices of protest and panic filled the air. It will kill them. We'll be responsible for a child's death. The dragon will escape and slaughter thousands. Bryn pounded his gavel. If we do nothing, the barrier fails anyway. The dragon escapes in rage and panic. If we lower it now, while it is calm, perhaps the human's connection holds. Perhaps the dragon chooses peace. And if you're wrong? The Quillen demanded. Then I will bear that responsibility, Bryn said. His voice was steady, but David could see his hands shaking on the gavel. But I have lived 800 years, and I have learned that sometimes the only choice is between certain disaster and possible hope. He pressed a button on his console. His voice echoed through the containment room. Ambassador Reed, we are going to lower the barrier by 1%. Just enough for physical contact. If the dragon shows aggression, we will terminate it immediately. Your daughter's life depends on our trust in your judgment. On the screen, David's face went pale. He looked at Lily, then at Ashkara. The dragon's eyes were open now, watching. Daddy, it's okay, Lily said. Ashkara promised. Promised what, honey? To be gentle. David closed his eyes. Every instinct screamed at him to grab his daughter and run. But she was right. He could feel it somehow. This dragon, this ancient, powerful creature, would not hurt his little girl. Do it, David said. The barrier flickered. A gap appeared, just wide enough for a hand to pass through. The council held its breath. Lily reached through the gap. Her tiny fingers stretched toward the dragon's massive head. Ashkara extended one talon, sharp enough to cut through steel. The claw was longer than Lily's whole arm. The tip of the talon touched her fingertip. Gentle as a whisper, Lily smiled, leaned forward, and kissed the dragon's scaled snout. In the council chamber, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The silence was absolute. The footage went viral within hours. Every planet with communication access, every station, every ship in transit, everyone watched the same image. A human child kissing the galaxy's most feared predator. A dragon's talon touching her fingertip with impossible gentleness. In the weeks that followed, the debate shifted. It was no longer about whether humans should join galactic civilization. It was about what galactic civilization had become. David sat in his temporary quarters on Station Harmony, reading message after message on his datapad. Lily was asleep in the next room, exhausted from another day of tests and interviews. The council wanted to understand how she had connected with Ashkara. Scientists wanted brain scans. Psychologists wanted to analyze her emotional patterns. David had refused most of them. His daughter was not a lab specimen. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. He opened it to find Grandmother Shen standing there, supported by a hover chair. Her ancient eyes studied him. May I come in? She asked. Of course, Grandmother. David stepped aside. She floated into the room, her chair humming softly. I wanted to speak with you privately, Ambassador, about what happens next. David sat down across from her. The council is still debating. The council is afraid, Grandmother Shen corrected. They have watched your daughter's kindness, and it terrifies them. Because if a 6-year-old child can show mercy to a creature that killed 17 guards, what does that say about the adults who ordered those guards to hurt it first? I can't speak for Lily's generation, David said carefully. But humans have done terrible things throughout our history. We're not innocent. No species is innocent, Ambassador. But most species, when confronted with their cruelty, make excuses. Your daughter did not. She simply saw suffering and responded to it. Grandmother Shen's chair drifted closer. I have lived 2,000 years. I have watched civilizations rise and fall. I have seen countless first contacts. And I can tell you that humanity is unique. Not because you are stronger or smarter or more advanced, but because you survived the worst and it taught you to care about others who suffer. That's not universal among humans, David said. Plenty of my people learned cruelty from hardship instead. True, but enough learned compassion that a child raised by humans instinctively reached out to the unreachable. Grandmother Shen paused. The council will vote tomorrow. I wanted you to know that whatever happens, you have changed us. That footage of your daughter has spread to every corner of known space. Other species are asking questions now about the prisoners we keep, the creatures we've labeled monsters, the beings we've decided are too dangerous to deserve freedom. David felt a weight settle on his chest. I never wanted to start a revolution. The best revolutions are never planned, Grandmother Shen said. They simply happen when someone shows a better way. The next morning, David and Lily returned to the council chamber. This time, Lily held his hand tightly. She understood something important was happening. The chamber was packed. Representatives from species David had never seen before filled the observation decks. This vote would set precedent for centuries. Bryn stood at the central podium. He looked older than he had 3 weeks ago. We have deliberated extensively. The question before us is not merely about humanity's membership, but about the nature of our civilization itself. The chamber was silent. Every translator device in the room carried his words across 40 languages. Ambassador Reed's ultimatum forced us to examine uncomfortable truths, Bryn continued. For 300 years we held Ashkara in containment. We justified it as necessary. The void drakes had attacked our worlds. We captured survivors for study. For our protection? He paused. But study became torture. Protection became cruelty. And we called it justified because we were afraid. Bryn's 3 eyes fixed on David and Lily. A human child looked past her fear and saw an individual in pain. She offered kindness where we had offered only imprisonment. And the dragon, violent for 3 centuries, responded with gentleness. The Quillen representative stood. Grandmother Bryn, many of us still believe the risk is too great. Void drakes are weapons. How can we trust it will remain peaceful? We cannot, Bryn said simply. Trust requires risk. Safety requires courage. These are lessons humanity learned on their death world. Perhaps it is time we learned them too. He pressed a button. On the display screens, a document appeared. The Council has drafted a resolution. Ashkara will be released from containment. The creature will be given sanctuary on a designated world where it may live freely. Humanity will serve as custodians of this arrangement. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Furthermore, Bryn continued, we are establishing a new council position, the Department of Interspecies Understanding. Its purpose will be to review cases of imprisoned or isolated beings, to determine if our fear has made us unjust. The Quillen representative sat down heavily. Others began to murmur. We will now vote, Bryn said. All in favor of humanity's admission to the Galactic Council, along with the provisions outlined? David held his breath. One by one, representatives registered their votes. The tally appeared on the screen. 30-2 in favor. 6 against. 2 abstentions. The chamber erupted in sound. Some cheered. Others protested. David felt Lily squeeze his hand. We won? She whispered. Yes, honey. We won? Can I see Ashkara now? David looked at Bryn, who nodded. The dragon has already been informed. It wishes to see you as well. They walked to the containment area one last time. But now the heavy security was gone. The weapons had been removed. The barrier was at minimum strength, just enough to keep the space stable. Ashkara was waiting. When Lily approached, the dragon lowered its great head and made that purring sound. Lily hugged the dragon's snout. Her small arms couldn't reach even halfway around, but Ashkara understood. The dragon's eyes closed, and for the first time since its capture, tears formed. They fell like drops of molten silver, evaporating before they hit the ground. "You're free now," Lily said. "You don't have to be alone anymore." The dragon opened its mind to everyone in the room. Images flooded their consciousness: gratitude, hope, and something that transcended species and language. Love. David felt tears on his own cheeks. Around the room, guards who had once feared this creature stood with wet eyes. Patricia openly sobbed. Grandmother Shen's voice echoed softly. "Let this be remembered. The day the galaxy learned that the strongest among us are not those who can destroy, but those who can forgive." Ashkara spread its wings for the first time in 300 years. They unfurled like shadows given form, filling the chamber with darkness and light. The dragon roared, but this time it was a song. A promise. The age of fear was ending. The age of understanding had begun. And it started with a child who dared to kiss a dragon. 6 months had passed since the vote. Station Harmony had been transformed. The lower levels, once holding cells for dangerous beings, were now being converted into rehabilitation centers. The cages were coming down. Lily sat in her father's new office, doing homework on her datapad. David was officially the Director of Interspecies Understanding now, a title that made him laugh every time he said it. His team consisted of 15 specialists from 8 different species, all working to review cases of imprisoned beings across the galaxy. The results had been shocking. Hundreds of creatures labeled as monsters were actually victims of circumstance, trauma, or simple misunderstanding. Some had been imprisoned for centuries. Others had been captured as children and never given a chance to be anything other than what their captors feared. Patricia knocked on the doorframe. "Sir, we have another request. The Havarian system is asking for mediation. They have a creature they call the Black Tide that's been destroying their coastal settlements." "What do we know about it?" David asked. "Not much. They've been trying to kill it for 2 years with no success. It only attacks at night. Witnesses say it looks like living water." David glanced at Lily. His daughter looked up from her homework and smiled. She had become something of an unofficial consultant. Her ability to connect with non-human minds was still being studied, but no one could deny it worked. "Want to go meet a new friend?" David asked her. Lily closed her datapad. "Always." 3 days later, they stood on a beach on Haverus Prime. The ocean was purple in the setting sun, waves crashing against crystalline sand. Local officials stood at a safe distance, weapons ready. "The Black Tide will come soon," one of them said nervously. "When darkness falls, it rises from the deep. We've lost 17 people to it." "Has anyone tried talking to it?" Lily asked. The officials looked at her like she had suggested flying into the sun. "It's not intelligent. It's a force of nature, destructive and mindless." "That's what they said about Ashkara," Lily pointed out, right on schedule. As the last light faded, the ocean began to churn. Something massive moved beneath the surface. Then it rose, water streaming off a body that seemed to be made of liquid darkness. Eyes like distant stars opened in what might have been a head. The Black Tide towered 20 feet tall, a wave frozen in the shape of something almost humanoid. The officials raised their weapons. David held up a hand. "Wait." Lily walked toward the creature. David's heart pounded, but he trusted his daughter. She had earned that trust many times over. "Hi," Lily said to the Black Tide. "My name is Lily. What's yours?" The creature swayed. Its watery body rippled with what might have been confusion. Then it lowered itself, coming down to Lily's height. A tendril of liquid extended toward her. Lily reached out. The water wrapped around her hand, cool but not cold. And suddenly David felt it too, the creature's mind touching theirs. Not hostile, not mindless, desperate. Images flooded in. This creature was not from Haverus Prime. It had been brought here, a water-based being taken from its homeworld for study. The transport ship had crashed. The creature survived but was lost, alone on an alien world. It came to shore looking for help, but the Havarians attacked out of fear. So it defended itself. It didn't want to hurt anyone. It just wanted to go home. Lily turned to the officials. It's lost. It crashed here and doesn't know how to leave. Every time it tried to ask for help, you attacked it. One official lowered his weapon. It's sentient? Very, David said. He had felt the creature's intelligence. Ancient and vast, like an ocean given consciousness. And it's been trying to communicate for 2 years while you've been trying to kill it. The lead official looked sick. We didn't know. We thought it was a predator. Everything unknown is a predator until proven otherwise, David said. That's the old way of thinking. My daughter is teaching us a new way. Over the next week, linguists and scientists worked with the black tide. Its name was Tishanara, and it came from a world on the far side of the galaxy. The crash had damaged its ability to create the light patterns its species used to communicate. Without that, it could only share emotions and images through direct contact. And no one had been willing to get close enough to let it try. The Havarians built a special transport. Tishanara would be taken home, reunited with its own kind. On the day of departure, the creature spent an hour with Lily, wrapping tendrils of water around her in what was clearly a hug. Thank you, small one, Tishanara's thoughts whispered in her mind. You saw me when others saw only fear. Lily hugged back as best she could. That's what friends do. News of the black tide spread just as fast as the footage of Ashkara had. Requests flooded into David's office. Species across the galaxy wanted human mediators. Wanted someone who could look past fear and find understanding. The work was hard. Not every creature was misunderstood. Some were genuinely dangerous. But many, so many, were simply different. Scared, traumatized, alone. Lily helped with dozens of cases over the following months. A crystalline being that communicated through vibrations. A shadow creature that lived between dimensions. A swarm intelligence that humans had mistaken for an invasion. Each time she found the connection others missed. One evening, David found her sitting outside their new home on Earth. She was looking up at the stars with a small smile on her face. What are you thinking about, honey? He asked, sitting beside her. I'm thinking about how big the universe is, Lily said. And how many friends are out there that nobody's met yet? David put his arm around her. You've changed the galaxy, you know. They're calling you the bridge builder? The one who connects species. I just talk to people, Lily said. Everyone else forgot how. Overhead, a ship descended from orbit. It was organic, grown rather than built, with scales that shimmered in the twilight. Ashkara had come to visit. The dragon did that often now, splitting time between a sanctuary world and trips to see Lily. The dragon landed in the field beside their house, wings stirring up dust. Lily ran to meet her friend, and Ashkara lowered its great head for her hug. David watched them together, the girl and the dragon, and marveled at how natural it looked now. Other children had started following Lily's example. On worlds across the galaxy, young ones reached out to creatures their parents feared. And slowly, painfully, beautifully, the galaxy was learning. Fear had ruled for so long. Fear of the different, the dangerous, the unknown. But fear only showed you what could hurt you. It took courage to see what could be loved. Grandmother Shen had been right. Humanity's greatest gift wasn't their strength or intelligence. It was their capacity to survive a death world and still choose compassion. To endure the worst and still reach out with kindness. Lily climbed onto Ashkara's back. The dragon spread its wings. Can I go for a ride, Daddy? David hesitated for only a moment. Stay in the atmosphere and be back before bedtime. I promise. The dragon launched into the sky, Lily laughing on its back. They soared through the clouds, silhouetted against the rising moon. A human child and a void drake, flying together over the death world that had taught them both how to be gentle. Below. David watched until they were just a speck in the darkening sky. He thought about the future, about all the species learning to see past their fear, about the bridges being built between worlds that had never known connection. The galaxy had fallen silent when Lily kissed the dragon. Silent in shock, in disbelief and wonder, but the silence had not lasted. Now the galaxy sang with new voices. Species talking to species they had feared for generations. creatures emerging from isolation to find welcome instead of weapons. Children of every world learning that different did not mean dangerous. It had started with one small act of kindness. One child who refused to be afraid. One dragon who remembered what it meant to be understood. And from that moment, everything changed. The stars above Earth shimmered with ships from 1,000 worlds. No longer coming in fear, but in hope. Coming to learn from the deathworlders who had discovered the most powerful force in the universe, not violence, not technology, not conquest. Love. Simple, impossible, revolutionary love, and it had all begun with a kiss.